Hello everyone, my name is KelSounds, and in this week's series we're going to be creating wavetables inside of Serum2. I'm just going to show you a few methods that I like to use when creating wavetables, and we're also going to read over some stuff inside of the Serum2 manual, which actually tells us how to get the best wavetables inside of Serum2. For this week there's only going to be 3 videos. I also want to mention the sample pack that is going to be included with this series will be available to download on my Patreon for my Patreon subscribers, so if you want to go ahead and check that out you can. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so we have our Serum2 open here, and this is another method that I like to use. But yeah, one of my favorite ways is using phase modulation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off oscillator. I'm going to go ahead and lower down the level of oscillator A and turn on oscillator B. And I'm going to go ahead and click on phase modulation from A. There is a difference between frequency modulation and phase modulation. You can kind of hear the difference. Frequency modulation, to me it's a bit more aggressive, and phase modulation, when I play it, I can hear how it inherits the harmonics from oscillator A. So I think I like the way phase modulation sounds. It's just what I like to use personally. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and create a wavetable with phase modulation. Okay, let's dive right in. So I have my note here. It is set to C0, and like we read in the Serum2 manual, Serum does a fantastic job of importing the waveform of other sounds, fixed pitch, one-shot monophonic sound. So that's just something to keep in mind when creating wavetables inside of Serum2. Okay, so the first thing I think I'm going to go ahead and do is put a macro knob on the phase modulation, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually turn on oscillator C and put a macro knob on the level of oscillator C. And so actually before we turn that up, I'm going to go ahead and mess with the phase modulation from oscillator A. So that's a little too aggressive for me. I'm going to go ahead and turn down the modulation. And I think I'm going to turn this into a triangle wave and leave this as a sawtooth wave for our modulator. So it's still a little bit too buzzy for me. I'm going to actually turn oscillator A into a triangle as well. Ooh, that has a lot of nice harmonics in it. And just to add some more harmonics to our wavetable, I kind of want to bring in the level of oscillator C. And so I'm going to head over here to the matrix and mess with the curve of our modulation. So oscillator C is where we have our sawtooth wave. I'm going to go ahead and open this up by double clicking it and just turning down the curve. So that way when we modulate oscillator C with our macro knob and we're modulating the level of oscillator C goes up a little bit later as we increase the macro knob. But if we were to go ahead and do something like this, the level of oscillator C would turn up almost immediately because of the curve of our modulation here. Let's go ahead and turn it back down. Yeah, so that's what I want. That's a pretty cool feature about Serum2 is that you can go ahead and adjust the amount of the modulation happening inside of this curve editor here. Alrighty, so I think we have our wavetable. And since we have our wavetable, I'm going to go ahead and configure macro 1, right click, show in automation, and then we're going to come over here inside of Serum, inside of Serum, inside of Ableton, and modulate our MIDI note here with the macro knob that we have configured, and the macro knob is just controlling the phase modulation happening from oscillator A, and it is controlling oscillator C level, and this is what it sounds like. So that is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and bounce this. So I'm going to hit Control B inside of Ableton to quickly bounce it. And then now I'm going to consolidate this, turn the sample up by a little bit, or by quite a bit, and then turn off the warp. And now we can go ahead and export this to our folder. And if you haven't already, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and create a folder for all of your wavetables. So let's go ahead and export, what is this, Serum2 bounce, or 6 Serum2 bounce. So that's this right here. going to go ahead and export. I'm going to go ahead and save this to my Wavetables because once we import it into Serum, I like to edit it and then export it from Serum2 into our exports Wavetable folder. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Wavetables, call it C0 because that is the note that we recorded it at, and I'm just going to rename it Wavetable 2. Sweet. Now we can go ahead and drag and drop this wavetable in here, but before we do that, I'm going to go ahead where it says enter formula and click on C0 because that is the note that we recorded it at, like I said before. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop our wavetable into here, and let's see how that looks. Let's see. Honestly, it sounds pretty good. I'm probably not even going to do any processing to that. I might just do remove DC offset, which it probably doesn't really need. As you can see, it didn't really add too much of an effect to it. Remove DC offset pretty much just centers our whole wavetable at the 0 crossing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click morph crossfade to morph our wavetables together smoothly. Okay, we are going to go ahead and actually get rid of that first frame. So frame 1, we just go ahead and select that, and then for remove the current index. Perfect. Now it should sound good. I'm going to go ahead and crossfade our wavetable again, morph crossfade. And there we go. That is our wavetable. And that is just another method that I like to use when creating wavetables is phase modulation. And like the last video, you can go ahead and export this. Again, each export option such as 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit just give you more amplitude levels to work with for each frame of your wavetable. And so I always go with 16-bit. I'm going to go ahead and export that to our wavetable folder. And so this will be our second wavetable. And there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Adios.